Well, welcome back, folks. Today we're going to do a walkabout or walk around in a little Suzuki TS50 Gaucho project that I've been working on. I thought it was time to give everyone an update on what I've been up to. Mostly what I've been doing over the recent period of time is beginning reassembly of the bike. That is, starting to put things back on the frame. And I usually start assembling from the inside and work my way out. So we're going to do, since Pete is here, I thought it'd be great to include him in this conversation. So if he's got any questions or observations, you can certainly ask. And we'll include that as part of this video. So this is a little walkabout or tour of the current state of the Suzuki TS50 Gaucho restoration. Obviously now we're looking at the left side of the bike, and I thought what I would do is share with you, the recent work that was going on. There's been quite a bit of it, actually. I've added the chain. That is an aftermarket chain. I think I talked about that once before. I actually ended up having to take, I think, 4 links out to make it fit. But the chain is in place. It's pretty much adjusted the way it needs to be in terms of tension. I usually start my chains a little bit on the tight side when they're new because they'll loosen up right away. Chain's in place. The countershaft sprocket is in place with a new nut and a locking washer. The oil pump is installed behind this cover. And that's all mounted up, and you can see the oil lines right here. I've got the stator assembly mounted, and you can see the wiring coming up right here. This sleeving is all new. That outside black vinyl sleeving is new. The original piece, which I think I threw away just the other day, was very hard and brittle, but I did re-sleeve this as all brand new sleeving. You can see the neutral switch is in, as well as the wiring coming down from the sleeve here to the neutral switch. And I did test the neutral switch with my meter, and it's working fine. A foot peg bar has been mounted with the side stand. Again, fresh powder coating, new spring for the side stand, new foot peg bar rubbers on each side are also installed. Those are still available from Suzuki. The spring is still available from Suzuki. A lot of these parts are still available. This little dadu right here is for the toolkit that was missing on the bike, but this toolkit fits right in here. This is the resistor for the magneto system. I did repaint that, as well as the clip up here for the fuse coming from the battery. Of course, the battery will fit in here to try to duplicate the zinc dichromate look, because originally this little box right here, it holds a resistor, and this little clip was zinc dichromate, but the finish was in very poor condition. Battery box is original. You can see it right in here. New hardware. I've talked many times. In fact, this hardware is new, and these fasteners here, as well as some other fasteners, are new. I don't mess around with zinc plating. The originals for that miscellaneous hardware like that, I can still buy that from Suzuki. And these are, in fact, new, still available from Suzuki. Airbox has been mounted right here. There's nothing in it. The filter unit or element, I have to make a new one. When we get around to the other side of the bike, I think I'll probably talk about that a little bit more. This grommet right here that protects this sleeving is original. I removed it when I re-sleeved that piece, and I cleaned it, and then I soaked it in my the conditioner that I've talked about many times. It's really it's a silicone-based automotive reconditioner that you use on like interiors and vinyl dashboards and that kind of thing. So this is original, and I was able to save that, as well as this boot right here is original, but I cleaned it and soaked it as well. Wiring loom, you can see here the harness. I've got it roughly in position. It's I haven't tied it down yet. You see the temporary zip ties. I do have the factory style tie downs. I do have them in my inventory from Suzuki. I'm not going to apply them, attach them until I'm satisfied with the position of the wiring and how I need to arrange it. So those zip ties are just to temporarily hold the main harness or loom in place till a little bit later on when I start buttoning up the wiring. Now you will notice I have not plugged all the harnesses back together in pieces. I don't typically do that until I got everything requiring using electrical mounted on a bike. I'm pretty much there now. I'm very close. Then I will position everything the way I think it needs to be. Then I will start plugging the connectors together, doing the final positioning, and at that point then I will do the final attaching of the harness to the frame of the machine. But I leave everything loose for now because I might be moving some things around. Let's see, what else is on this side of the bike we need to talk about? Am I missing anything, Pete?
Yes, I have a couple of observations. Since I'm not familiar with this model, I'm curious as to what this piece is for.
Sure. You might be able to just see right up under here. In fact, what happened is there's a tube right here that just popped out.
Okay.
That's just a Pete's right here with me. That's just a vent tube.
Okay.
Right? And that just comes through right under. I know you probably can't see this on the camera, but it vents this cavity is what it does, and it just popped out. So that is original, by the way. I did not replace that. That is the original piece that came out.
So it's a breather.
It's a breather. It's a vent tube.
Yeah. Another thing that I've noticed is you have mounted the reconditioned ignition switch, which looks absolutely pristine.
Yeah, that again, I did a two-part and quite a detailed video series, as I'm sure you recall, Pete, and most of the viewers that have been with me for a while, of restoring this piece. So it is mounted. This is the loom for it right here, which was re-sleeved, of course, as well in that previous video series. That loom will connect up into here eventually when I get around to tying all the wiring together. But yeah, that's very simple attachment at that point.
One other observation is on a lot of different motorcycles, this type of a connection boot area, from my experience, usually goes into the headlight shell. And you say that this loom is pretty much where it should be. So this obviously fits in the tunnel for the tank as where it's protected by.
Well, that's an interesting observation because that's how it's positioned right now is how it came off the bike when I bought it.
Yes.
And the tank was on the bike, of course, in the side covers, the body side covers, and this is how it was positioned. The only difference is this end of the harness right here was if you look at the video, was something like that, and then the light, the wiring from the taillight came up and connected into here.
Yes.
And it went something like that. And there was actually a band that went around this support right here and held that in place. So I could tell you that that's how it came off of the bike.
Yes.
But that's an interesting observation because I concur or agree that often you'd see this up inside of the headlight shell. When I took this project apart, the wires from the controls and the switches and the headlight power, they actually came down here, I believe if I remember, in a sleeve not dissimilar from this one, and plugged in. Again, there's other wiring in here. See?
Okay.
And it came through one of these black plastic sleeves and plugged in here. That's how it was when I got the bike. Is that absolutely correct? I'm not sure yet. That's one of the reasons I don't tie everything down.
Yes.
Because once I get the headlight on and get the wires and the handlebars and the switches and controls with the wiring from those, and they are quite long, the pigtails on those controls.
Yes.
They're not short. I suspect they're going to be too short to just go into the headlight because there's nothing then to connect from here to here, and they're quite long.
Okay.
That leads me to believe that they were designed to come down here along the side and plug in right here. But if I move that wire main loom all the way up into here, this at the opposite end might be in the wrong position. But I don't know yet. That's why I don't tie everything, start plugging everything in yet because I don't have all the wiring in place. I got to get the handlebars and headlight on for sure.
Yeah, makes sense. And one final observation, and I don't remember if you have discussed this in your other videos, but the fork lock is absolutely beautiful. It must have been replated because it's very, very clean and pristine. So that kind of sets off the front of the bike as well.
Yeah, the fork lock, I did talk about, I think, a little bit. I don't know how much anymore without going back and looking, but I did replate that. So that's been zinc plated.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And that wasn't tumbled by the way.
Okay.
I hand polished it because I didn't want media to get inside of the lock
And the
mechanism.
tumblers.
I mean, you could tape it and try to prevent it, but it'd get in there.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to mess with that, so I hand polished that.
Very nice.
I think that's just about it on this side of the bike right now. Let's move around to the other side and we'll see what's going on over there. Obviously we're over on the right side of the bike, and some of the things that I've done here might not be all that obvious to you, but important nonetheless. The rear brake system is in place, all mounted, and the brake pedal, which has obviously been powder coated. The brake actuating arm. Underneath here, you might not be able to see it from your perspective, is the brake stay arm that holds the brake backer plate. The brake arm here that attaches to the cam, all that's back in place, and mostly new hardware. When I say new hardware, I mean the split pin or cotter pin right here, the washer. All the split pins or cotter pins are new. The nut on the end of the brake rod, this bolt and nut are new from Suzuki, still supplied, bought them brand new. This piece, the brake rod, the stay arm have been replated in zinc here in my shop. So that's pretty well done. Of course, the adjustment will probably have to be tuned after the bike is put in service, but it's okay for now. And I think I already mentioned that the rear wheel is adjusted in the starting position. A few other things to talk about here is this little plate. It's really a rest or a bracket that holds the oil tank. That's the two-stroke oil tank. Again, that's original. That was plated in the shop. I just cleaned it, stripped it of original zinc, and then replated it. This little rubber pad right here I just removed. That is original. That is a Suzuki part. It's got a Suzuki logo on it. However, those are no longer available from Suzuki as far as I know, so that's kind of a precious part. Air cleaner canister, remember on this side of the bike, this is a rubber valve engine, so eventually the carburetor will be sitting down in here, so there's a breather tube that will go from this side of the carburetor. It's L-shaped and will go into the side cover here. There is no media in the air cleaner canister right now. This is what came out of it. This is homemade, clearly. I'm guessing by the previous owner probably made this. And his idea was a very good one where he started. I would have probably executed it a little bit differently than he did. And the adhesive he used, I think, was probably a super glue. It feels like a hardened, dry, because it's very hard and brittle super glue. And I probably would have put the end cap on the inside if it was me rather than the outside. But you know, conceptually he was on the right track, and obviously the glue didn't hold. So I'm going to make a new one of these. You actually can buy these. You can buy aftermarket from Unifilter. Mm-hmm. They make one for this bike.
Okay.
Quite expensive, but I think I'll just make one from foam. And he used the right kind of foam. It's very close cell on the inside and coarse cell on the outside. Excuse me. So he was on the right track with it. I'm just going to make a new one.
Yes.
Pete, why don't you talk about what is this?
Okay, the only reason I know what that clip is for is because I have something similar on my Suzuki TS125, and that is to hold the throttle cable. There's a plastic splitter that the throttle cable goes in, and one cable obviously goes to the carburetor and the other to the oil pump. And this is specific for these bikes where this clip holds that plastic part, the splitter, for the throttle cable.
Exactly. And that is an original. It was plated, replated. That's the one that came off this bike originally. So I just replated it in the shop, and we're back in business. The engine mount bolts are original. I think I referred to that in a previous video. So the motor mount bolts themselves that have that stylized Suzuki S on the head on the opposite side. The bolts themselves are new. There's 3 of them. Here, here, and here. And the nuts and flat washers and lock washers are new. Those are brand new from Suzuki, just because, again, I'm not into plating of miscellaneous hardware if I can get it from the factory. So the attaching hardware, with the exception of the bolts themselves, is brand new from Suzuki, and that's why you see it so shiny. One comment I would like to make also is the brake switch, rear brake switch right here, you can see, actuated by the brake pedal itself. That is new, still available from Suzuki. It's a absolute carbon copy of the original in all dimensions. In fact, I'm going to put a photo of the two side by side here to slip this into the video, and you can see what they look like, the original, which I have, as well as the new piece. And as you can see, they're identical. Everything is the same, including the color of the wiring, the male-female combination is right. So Suzuki is still making the same brake light switch after all these years, exactly, probably using the same tooling.
One observation for myself is that you don't often see a black spring.
Yeah, that is different than the original.
Okay.
The original was just zinc plated.
Yes.
And I debated when I ordered a new spring, when I ordered the new switch itself, because it was available and wasn't very expensive. And when I got it, it was black, as you alluded to.
Yes.
The original was zinc plated. I have the original. I might go back and plate that spring eventually. I might.
Okay.
And I could switch it out very easily because it would look a little bit more original.
Yes.
Or another option is just remove the coating.
Yes. Yes.
If I want to save that effort of replating, because the dimensions of the spring and everything else are virtually the same.
Yes.
It's just one was black and one was originally zinc.
Yes.
I could just strip that coating.
Yeah,
and
you'd use like a paint stripper or something on it.
Yeah, I'd experiment and try to figure out what it is,
Yes.
what kind of coating. It's probably literally as some kind of a paint, I'm guessing. I think it is a finish. I don't think it's like a plating of any kind. And
Yeah.
I might be able to just use a wire wheel, or rather I'd probably quicker use like a paint stripper.
Yes.
Right, like you'd use for powder coating, and just strip it back to the. I'm sure there's zinc underneath it.
I'm sure there is as well.
So one or the other I might still do. I haven't decided yet. But that's a great observation on your part, Pete. Let's see, what else do we have to talk about? Anything else going on here?
I think that's pretty much got it covered for this side.
Okay.
Yeah, it's looking absolutely fabulous, and I can't wait to see it completed.
Yeah, and it'll be a little while yet. There's a lot more work, more than what it might appear. I mean, I have the carburetor, of course, which I haven't even touched yet. So I've got the carburetor, which will mount in here, the side cover that fits here, which has been painted already, and they're just setting aside. Those are silver painted. But this whole clutch cover here, that's all got to be done yet. The handlebars, the controls have to be restored. The wiring for those has to be certainly done yet. Top end of the engine, the piston, rings, circlips,
Yes.
cylinder head, all that. All those parts are ready to go. I just haven't gotten to them yet. So that's got to be done, and certainly we haven't talked about the bodywork. So you've got the tins, the fuel tank, front fender, which is metal. The body side covers are plastic, and the rear fender, which is a combination of metal with a plastic liner. I haven't even gotten to that. So it's going to be a while yet. There's a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Some of it will be offline, restoring and repairing. And the painting I will have done professionally, I think, on this bike. I don't think I'm going to paint it myself. I could, but I'm probably not going to. So there's still a lot more to do, even though it's looking relatively complete. There's far more to do yet than you might imagine initially.
Yeah, I can understand. One last observation, the chrome looks absolutely gorgeous. The headlight ears and the fork lowers, they did a great job with the chrome.
I'm very happy with the way the chrome came out. Yeah, you bet. I think it looks good. Anything else, Pete?
That pretty much covers everything.
Okay. So we're going to put a wrap on this video again today, folks. Any issues, questions, thoughts, drop me a note. Otherwise, as usual, thanks for watching.